really know what I was gonna talk about, but I figured that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this month was a really big eye opener for me, and I realized why. It's because I took a small break from social media. I stood off of Instagram and Snapchat for about a week, and I realized how dependent I am on those platforms to feel like I'm important to people. And I don't even necessarily mean to post things. For example, my friends just DMing me something funny or, sharing something with me or making a comment on something that I shared with them a while back. It made me feel like I was still close in contact with them, even if maybe I really am not in real life. I took a lot of time to read. I took a lot of time to, like, for example, I have like a whole bunch of books that I've been reading, but this book by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, it basically explains a lot about our ego, and not necessarily in the way that you might expect. Like, for example, when I used to hear the word ego, I would think about someone feeling cocky, maybe they were vain and had a big ego. But the ego that's shared in this book refers to, from what I could explain, I think of it as your soul, or the spirit that lies beyond your earthly presence here. So I'm not really Amanda, and I don't need to go to the gym every day. Like, that's just like my earthly, my pleasure to do that. That's like mine could have been anything. Just like everyone on this earth has their own self identifiers, they really could be anything. They don't really connect with who you are as a spiritual being that's connected to the earth. Essentially, this book that I've been reading, especially while I've stood off social media, basically helped me understand a bit more about why my ego behaves the way it does and why I feel so personally victimized by some of the decisions that other people may make, or why I feel so good and so validated by the actions of other people. I'm the type of person who has very intense relationships. And I mean that in a sense where it's all or nothing. And when I say relationships, that means with anyone. So, relationship with a partner, relationship with a brother, a sister, a cousin, a friend, a best friend. For me, it's like all or nothing. A big reason why I push away from friendships is certain ones is if I feel like that person isn't putting as much effort into the relationship as I would. This book really helped me see why I take things so personally, and it's because I tend to attach myself with having this belonging to these people. So if I label someone my friend and something happens to affect that relationship dynamic at all, I take it personally because it's almost like my property, my relationship, me. So if anything happens with that, it almost makes me feel like I need to defend myself in order to have this relationship work. I've noticed this for the longest time. I'm not going to use any real names, but for one of my longtime best friends, I'll call him Robbie. I've known Robbie for years and years and years. We were best of friends. We did everything together. We both, I wound up getting into a relationship. He wound up changing schools, and we didn't really see each other that much because of those things. I realized that after, years later, I realized that the reason why we pulled away from each other is because the distance, but then also I prioritized, or I over intensified my bond, my relationship with one of my partners over my friendship with Robbie. So I basically gave 100% to my partner and 0% to Robbie. The reason why I'm talking about this in particular is because, of course, this month is the month where I've been going through a lot at home and just my personal life, but it really made me take a step back and just look at the way I handle my relationships with people. A lot of my thoughts are consumed daily about, my relationships with people. I've come to realize that there's a lot more to finding your peace than just trying to make everyone around you happy. Because I've tried doing that with my relationships, trying to balance out those intensities and trying to detach myself from that sense of belonging, connecting my ego to those people. And it's a big challenge, and it has been. And it got to the point where I had to just look at every single connection I had with someone in my life, and I had to think about it and basically say to myself, this person will either recognize that we're slipping apart and they will reach out to me because they don't want things to be different between us as friends, as a partner, as family, or they are going to just let it take its course. I had to stop getting in my head as much about my expectations I had for other people. That was one of the biggest things that helped me mentally get through this month. Your expectations are all mental, and every situation is just that. It's just a situation, and what makes it bad or good is the way you react to it. It's all about what's going on up here. The way you process what happened is what will ultimately affect your health. The better that you get at just sort of letting people make their own decisions and try to let go of having control, the easier it will be. And this is coming from me who's been in 2 or 3 relatively serious relationships. So I really don't try to have like 30 or 40 friends who I'll just have in group chats and just talk to and try to maintain. I really try to focus all of my attention on just the people who give me just as much attention. Even myself, in one of my first very serious relationships ever, I realized that, let's give him a name. We'll say his name was Chuck. So Chuck and I dated for 5 years almost, and um, there was something about it that I was so unsure of and I was so scared about because I didn't know whether or not what I was feeling was love, and how could anyone be this sweet and perfect and not do anything wrong to me. And it freaked me out because I thought it was too good to be true and that I was too young. And so I just ended the relationship. I was 21 when we broke up, and I'm like, this is too good to be true. The main point behind that story is that I realized I was able to, just because I was overthinking and making all of these comparisons of myself to what the odds are and what everyone else around me has gone through, I do understand why it could be a really heavy mental setback because you don't know if you can trust yourself anymore. You don't know if this person's right for you. After that breakup, I got into this mode where I felt more in control of my choices because I never felt like I would ever break up with this one guy. There was a part of me that felt really in control. There was a part of me that felt like this person isn't mine. Like, people don't belong to my ego. I need to separate this. Everyone has their own, like, pieces to move in front of them in order to make it work for themselves. Because as social as we are as human beings, we tend to put ourselves first as like a safety mechanism. In order for me to feel better about myself, I bounced from relationship to relationship. And I don't have shame in saying that. Let's see, another name, Kyle. So my relationship after Chuck was with Kyle. And from the beginning, it was a very fun relationship. And we really hit things off. And it was like a learning curve because we were both these two very strong, um, forward set personalities, very outgoing, but in our own way. And we had to learn a lot about each other, and we had to make things work in order for us to learn how to communicate. This sort of continued to happen on and off throughout the relationship, um, which sort of turned it toxic. And I think it's because I was so used to a guy like Kyle, who was like an athlete, I guess, came off like he was sort of always looking for attention. But I knew that he had a really good heart and that he was really there for me. He really cared about me. It was very all at once. We were both gravitating towards each other very early on, and I just wanted something new, and Kyle was new. There was a lot of miscommunication throughout the relationship. It got to the point where we had dated for so long that we had gotten so close, and there were certain like subtle moments when we would start picturing what it would be like if we were to ever wind up together. And he knew already how I felt about divorce and how I felt about relationships in general, essentially. But I don't think I'd ever say that I put pressure on him to be that person. I think he just had an understanding of where I felt about marriage in general. He just knew how I felt about it. But it was a very emotionally toxic relationship because of the miscommunication. I think I also always had a level of expectations. Even when it came to my other relationships, I just always had expectations. And I'm not saying they were unrealistic. I'm just saying, even like the simple ones, but that's my own fault because I had these expectations, and if it wasn't done exactly right, I would feel jaded because of it. Slowly but surely, I noticed that this person that I was so close with just wasn't, he was just sort of checking out. And this happened recently. This happened within the last 6 months. There have been subtle hints of him possibly wanting a break, him not knowing whether or not he wants a commitment, even though he knew how sure he was he wanted to be together. It took me a lot of self reflection to see where he was coming from because this is where I was coming from with Chuck. It made me think to myself towards the end of the relationship, can I trust my own judgment? Because here I was being told all the time, I'm the one, that's it, I'm it. And for it to go from that to now, here I am, like, having my feelings being messed with or not getting direct answers. I have to, like, take a step back and be like, is this human being treating me the right way? Beyond the relationship, beyond all the bull crap, is this person living through their ego to self fulfill their own validations? Or do they have any interest in me at all and how I'm doing in my life? I guess that has to do with withdrawal because that's what happens when you talk to someone every single day and you go from 100% to zero. And it was hard for me because I am an all or nothing person. We started off with a break, and then I felt like maybe he just wasn't feeling it. And once I stop feeling like they're feeling it, then I don't want anything to do with it because I feel like that person already checked out. And again, there could have been better communication because who knows? But I got the idea, I got the gist. He probably fell out of love with me, but he still cared deeply for me. He wanted me as a friend, but he didn't want to have to commit to me either. It's just hard because it's a big mental struggle to go from loving someone so intensely and hearing that they want you to wait for them to then it being gone and you having no choice but to just accept that this person no longer wants the connection that you had. And I couldn't fight for it. I had no chance to defend it or change his mind. And I realized, like, I don't want it if I have to change anyone's mind. So then I felt like I had to play games, and I created like a Tinder account to see if he was using it. You know, like I tried to not answer him, and then I wanted to answer his phone calls, but then I was wondering, why is he calling me? Then I tried to see him in person. He didn't want to meet up in person. It was just, if he wanted to see me, and if you're going through anything like this too, like if someone you're speaking to, even if it's a best friend, if they want to make things work, I forget what the first name I used in this story, but the first guy, the best friend I told you about, like he reached out to me again because he wanted to make it work. He didn't just drop the friendship because we had some distance and because some time has passed and things changed a bit. He made it work. Even if it was years later, he called me and texted me and wanted to catch up. And that's really all it takes. So in this scenario now, if Kyle really wanted to see me, he would have called or he would have just driven to my house. Like he knows where I live. It wasn't my decision, and I really had to just accept that this person no longer wanted to be my friend, no longer wanted to feel that connection with me. And for whatever reason, like, I lost someone who I was in love with. I lost a best friend, my absolute best friend. And I kind of, I just had to ride with it. He admitted to messing with me on purpose, admitted to trying to get to me and my emotions. And it's like, once that happens, it kind of made me realize, like, why am I trying to see if he has a Tinder? Why am I trying to, like, you know, like save all the pictures or keep things the same when clearly he doesn't? He turned off like a light switch, just like that. And it really opened up my eyes. Even I did that myself in my past relationship, and how anyone can easily do it to me again, or how easily I could do it to someone else again. I just had to learn the hard way that expectations kill the game. Like they aren't good for sustainable relationships in life with anyone, whether it is a partner or a family member or a best friend. You need to separate yourself from all of those games. If the person wants to do something, they're going to do it because it's for themselves. Kyle, he's not moving any pieces. So I need to throw out my game. This book helped me a lot understand why I feel this way. It's because I connected myself to Kyle. Kyle is my boyfriend. So when things started feeling like he was pulling away, it made me feel like part of me was being pulled away. It's hard when you have someone who's making all the decisions for the relationship or the friendship. And it's hard when that happens because then you have no say, and you're given this new life in a way, not to be dramatic, but now it's like my daily routine looks different. you're given this new life and you just gotta live it. Like, you just have to, you know, the person dealt you this life, and now I had to change everything. It's like you can't make everyone happy. You really can't. And you need to put your chess piece first, and you need to just figure out what will get you through it. And like the actions that Kyle took really opened my eyes. Like, wow, this person doesn't care. If he or she cared, they would be here. Or they would instead of playing games, and like me too, like instead of me playing games, you know, I decided to stop and send like a real and deep um text message to try to extend, my final thoughts on the situation. And like, I just didn't get anything back that indicated that this person, you know, is serious about keeping me in their life. So I can't keep fighting anymore. It's just there's not much else I can do. I did all I could do. And the sad part is that there's still love there. I just have to ignore it until it goes away. And being hurt by someone again is just your interpretation of it. So I truly can just change this whole situation, the whole outcome of the situation in its entirety, just by thinking of this breakup as a clean slate. Now I know what I want in a relationship and what I don't want. I've also taken a lot of time to think about some of the things that Kyle didn't particularly like that I did. And I really took what I learned from this book and what I learned from staying off of social media, like not needing the validation. I really took what I learned and I put it to really good use, because I don't look at the situation and I think that I did something bad or that I could have done more, because I really did all I could do. And there's only so much that you can do to try to convince someone of their own thoughts. By keeping your expectations low, that doesn't mean you're keeping your standards low. That just means you shouldn't expect things to fall into place the way that you want. And everyone has their vices, everyone has their demons, and if you love someone, you have to love them for all of them. I think like the main takeaway from this entire month is to not be so fixated on your ego, your expectations, and to just be happy in the moment, because the moment's gone as soon as you're in it. Be happy with what you have when you have it. And you never know. I certainly did not expect people to change their opinions about me or change their heart about me. So just definitely be prepared for anything, and don't take it for granted, and remember your self worth, because there will be times when a friendship isn't going your way and you're not feeling like you're getting reciprocation for something, and the person could admit it all they want, like, yeah, you're right, yeah, you're right. But if there's no change, then there's no accountability, and then there's no moving forward, and you can't expect that there will be change. You almost have to stay neutral and just say, you know what, like, if this person leaves, like, that just happened because it was meant to happen. And the more that you allow your brain to stay fixated on this one thing that may bring negative energy into your life, the more that you're going to be upset and fixated on a negative wavelength about it, and the longer it will just cause your body stress so unnecessarily. So just keep those things in mind. Obviously, beyond just this month, it's halfway through May already, but I just figured I would share a little bit about why I took a break from social media and I wanted to share a piece of my life that, like, one aspect of my life that really has a huge impact on my mental health on a daily basis. The way I communicate with people and the way they communicate with me is everything. And I don't forget those things. They really stick with me. If you can just learn how to regulate those thoughts and just process them in a different way that doesn't make you so upset, that will be the best thing you could ever do for your mental health. Whether it's cutting ties with an old friend, or going through a breakup, or not seeing a family member, even death. All of these forms of separation, they're all just scenarios. And you have to deal with them in your own way. And it's definitely easier said than done, but I promise you, once you get through, that first week or two of just crying it all out, if you allow some perspective to just shine through, you'll have a whole new outlook on people and the way you communicate with people, and you'll be better off for it mentally and emotionally. And definitely check out this book and let me know if you have read it, if you want anything like it, because I have a whole bookshelf of stuff that are pretty similar. Just a really uplifting and enlightening book. So thank you guys for hearing me out and listening to my stories. I haven't gotten serious like this in a while. My other videos are not as sit down serious and formal, but I figured why not, because it's what I've been posting about, especially with everything going on in the world right now, like the relationship world, staying too close to someone, like too much distance. It's just a really hard balance to strike, especially in the environment we're in right now. So definitely just keep up with me on Instagram and be sure to like this video if you can relate and send it to your friends, like anyone who needs a little pick me up or a little perspective. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.